CMPRadio.net. It's the station. CMPRadio.net, the voice of Chester.
I'm ready now? Hello, everybody. Welcome to Parenting with a Purpose with Donna Janel. I am Donna Janel, and welcome to the show. Today, we are talking with single moms. The show is The Life of a Single Mom. But before we talk to single moms, there is an article and a news report that I read recently, and I thought it would be interesting to share with all the parents. The topic of it is teen mental health is in a crisis. There was a CDC doctor, Dr. Hoosie, had did an interview with CBS News, and it talks about teen mental health as a crisis. So here's some of the points that I was listening to, and I thought it would be useful. They're talking about teenage girls, too. It says 3 out of 5 teenage girls are sad or hopeless. That's twice the number of hopeless teen girls than there are boys. And there are some of the reasons they're saying is social media, social isolation, bullying. We can't pinpoint exactly what happened to this population of girls, but we know since 2011 the numbers rose almost 3 times the number that was previous. Also, one of the things that they were talking about is 1 in 3 high school students consider attempting suicide, and that's more than half of 57% of students who persistently said they were sad and hopeless, and it's a record high. The reason why I bring this up because, we know since COVID that we've really been tracking this mental health situation, because not only with teens, it's been with adults too. But one of the reasons why I'm bringing up the teens is because the rates are just rocking sky high, and they're saying that these kids want to commit suicide. They're starting to have a plan, and the whole reason is because they're depressed, they're sad, and hopeless. So why are teens hopeless? Why are teen girls hopeless? One of the things it was saying that teen girls' violence is at an all-time high. So not only are they dealing with bullying from school, but they're also talking about sexual violence as well. As a teenage girl, it's at an all-time high. Now, we're talking teens. We're talking about anybody that's 13 all the way until 18. Well, 19 is what the CDC is saying. So these girls are experiencing a lot of sexual violence. So the CDC has some ways for us to make sure that our children are safe. The first thing it says, what can we do as parents to make sure our teen girls are safe? One of the things is know the line between what's normal and not, meaning that, when they take long pauses when you talk to them, if their mood lasts, if they're in a low mood and it's lasting longer than, just normal teenage stuff, if they're becoming more isolated or withdrawn, if they don't want to socialize with their friends, if they don't want to get out of bed, and if they start to engage in risky behavior, there's some of the signs and symptoms of either they're being bullied, they're being sad or depressed for whatever reason. Another thing that they want us to do as parents, and this is from Dr. Hosey, the CDC, they've done this study. We have to listen to and validate the children's concerns. Keep an eye on our social media usage. We know that social media, these phones are basically computers with phone apps. So they're on them all the time, even though they're banned them from school, but these kids, they go to the bathroom on them, they're on the bus stop, they're on these phones. Because even my own teens, I banned them for years, and once they got a hold of these phones, it just seemed like they don't let these phones go. Make sure you know who your children, who their circle is. Like, don't be a stranger to your child's circle. I remember growing up where everybody knew exactly what everybody's doing. Your family knew who your friends were. You would invite them to dinner. Your neighbor knew your name. You knew your friend's name. Everybody knew everything. But now it's a little different. We're a little bit more isolated and private. But don't be a stranger to your friend's circle. And also, one of the things that kids are asking for help. So when they ask for help, don't blow it off, don't ignore them. And then make sure that everything is just okay. Be available for your kid to talk to you, especially if, we're talking about teenage girls, and it's at an all-time high. Like, a teenager should not want to die, should not feel sad or hopeless. They deal with typical teenage pressure, but not to the point where they want to either kill themselves or they want someone else to kill them. So just keep an eye on your teen girls. Every week I'm going to come back with some more interesting things that I'm hearing from the CDC and other sources, just so that we can keep an eye on our girls, because I didn't even know that teenage mental health crisis is at an all-time high. Just hearing that kind of disturbed me. One of the things also with this mental health in the teenage, like, all the youth centers for mental health for teenage are all full. They're full. And then what's happening is that these kids who go cry for help and to get help at a mental institution, they don't have a bed, they don't have anything, so then they're ended up in an ER. And I know I was in the ER for a situation, and there was a teenage boy there for 36 hours because they had no bed in the mental health institution. So again, talk to your children, let them know that they can come to you and have a conversation and then get help. That's my point for tonight. All right, so now we're going to turn into our guests. Tonight, our guest is two single moms. I have Amanda Bowers. Say hi, Amanda.
Hi.
I have Amber Gray. Say hi, Amber.
Hello.
All right, welcome to the show. So we're just going to come off the bat with questions. How y'all feeling? Y'all feel a little comfortable?
We feel good.
All right. Well, I'll just start with Amanda, since you're on it. Amanda, how many children you have, and what their age and their gender?
So I have two children. Kyler is a boy, and he is 7, and Kylie is my daughter, and she's 3.
3. So you have a 7 and a 3-year-old.
Yes.
So you're busy.
Definitely.
All right, Amber, what are your children, age, gender, and
So Samir is my oldest, he's 13, and Aaliyah is my youngest, and she's 7.
Wow. So you're busy too.
Absolutely.
So I have 4 children, 24, one about to be 17, and 2 about to be 15.
Yes.
So I have 1 boy and 3 girls. So I'm busy. Busy talking to the girls. That's mostly what's going on, because they like to talk. All right. How do you guys work?
Yes, I work full-time in childcare, helping my mom with her center.
Okay.
I am an entrepreneur full-time as well.
Okay. So I know you guys didn't make these kids on your own. So I'm going to ask about how about the other parent. Is the other parent in your child's life, or?
You want to go first?
Yeah. Just
Around when they want to be.
when they want to be. Okay. How about you, Amber?
So both of my kids' fathers are very active in their lives, and they're around all the time.
All right. So with there being, I'll start with you, Amanda, because you said sometimes when he wants to be. So how is co-parenting? How is that? Like, do you co-parent, or you just you just the parent, and then he shows up when he wants to? Like, keep it real. Like,
Yeah, that's
break
the
it down.
majority of it. I'm the full-time parent, and Dad shows up when Dad wants to. Right now, things are wild and crazy, but we try to be mutual. We try to, when he wants them, then I let them go. But the in and out definitely can be a lot, especially with my schedule and with the children and their attitudes and how they feel. And so because it's not a consistent thing, sometimes it becomes, oh, I don't want to go, or so then that becomes a tug and like, well, you have to because that's dad, but
Right. And both of your kids are by the same father.
Yes.
Have the same father.
Yes.
Okay. And how do you co-parent?
I actually co-parent a lot better now. For the simple fact, I had to take myself out of the situation and put the kids in it, because it's not really about our relationship. It's really about what's best for the children.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So when it comes down to being best for the children, having that communication open, being that bigger person, say,
Yes.
are you going to take them every other weekend, a week? Now, both of their fathers are two different people. So getting a custody agreement, something in writing, works well for me.
Okay. All right.
I mean, yeah, that definitely is the big thing. Being grown enough to have a schedule. Because if I'm over here and then you just call and say, hey, yeah, I want my kids, and I'm not around, then that's where
Some conflict comes in.
Yes, that's where the conflict is right now. Having that mutual understanding of, okay, what days do you want? But, yeah.
Right. So as far as financial needs for the children, are you responsible totally for all the financial needs of children, or does the father help, or?
No, I'm not gonna say no. He does, I guess, what he can. But yes, I'm responsible for their living situation, everything that they need as far as day to day. So not just dropping off some clothes when you can, or
Right. So what you're saying is that you're a full-time active mom.
Yes,
That's what
definitely.
it is. So you're responsible for the everyday, day and out, the financial
Feeding them, making sure that the bills are paid so they have somewhere to live, making sure that daycare is paid, making sure that doctor bills and all that is paid, everything, so that their life is stable and continues to go normally and flow regular.
Okay. How about you, Amber? Like financially?
Financially, I do not do it all on my own. It was a time that I did. However, putting that structure down, putting your foot down and say, I didn't make this child by myself. Mm-hmm. We do have 50-50. Now, if it gets to the point where one of the fathers are financially struggling, yes, I will take on that responsibility and have a conversation with them and say, when you get back on your feet, a lot of help, a little bit of help, it goes a long way.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, are the fathers on child support?
Mine is not.
Okay.
One of mine is, the other one I actually recently just fought to get him off.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't normally hear women fighting to get the father off of child support. I'm going to touch on that in a second. But back to you, Amanda, is there a reason why you haven't put them on child support, or?
To be honest, I just always said that since I had my kids, I'm not going to force somebody to be a parent. And I feel like putting you on child support is forcing you to be a parent. If you're not going to willingly help, if you're not going to willingly making sure that they are okay day to day, I'm not going to.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to say I didn't go to the court system. I have, but that was for days or things like that. It wasn't for financial help.
I've been a single parent since 2011, and two of my children, I have 4 children. 2 was my ex-husband's, and then the other 2 I adopted because my sister and her husband passed away. So I never put him on child support. Like, there was an agreement once he left the house that one of the questions was, please don't put me in the system. I'll make sure I could do. And for years, he wasn't doing what I think he should have done, but at the time, I'm a nurse, so I'm like, I got this, I can hold this. I'm not even going to force you to take care of your kids. Mm-hmm. But over the years, my mindset has changed about it. Just if I'm not going to force you, somebody's going to have to force you to take care of these kids because it's not cheap. Did you see the price of eggs? Mm-hmm. Okay, so milk. Eggs, milk, $9, and I don't think it's it's not benefiting the child if the mother is struggling to pay bills and the father is just out there willy-nilly not doing anything. So I think that, you know, each situation is unique. But for my situation, I just was like, no, I got the money. But as time went on, things happened with me. I didn't have the money, and it did become a struggle. So at some point, I got to be like, listen, you didn't hold up to your end of the bargain, so I got to do what I got to do to make sure that my kids are fed. Have I taken them for child support yet? No. I'm sitting here telling y'all, but I haven't. But my son is with him more now than he was before. So if I do ask him for something, it's not like he's going to volunteer, but if I do ask him, you know, to provide A, B, and C for his son, he does provide, or his mom, right? So I still don't feel the need to, now that he's there most of the time for a child support. But if I look back on my earlier years, I would have took him for child support. He was working. Like, you know, he was working and not supplying. See, it's a thing if you're not working, but if you're working and you're not supplying, that's where I have, you know, the problem with. So that's just, you know, a matter of perspective and opinion and growth.
But everyone has the ability to work.
Yeah.
So,
but the ultimate thing is that we don't want the children to suffer.
Right.
So I mean, by all means, if you're a mom and you're holding it down, you got this money, you're not struggling, no issues. If you just, you know, but
I'm not going to say I have the money, but I have the support system.
That's good.
Right.
I definitely have the support system that makes sure that, you know, my parents make sure, you know, I have that village.
Yeah, that
so
village. Okay.
I have people in my life that definitely make sure that me and my children are good.
That's
so.
Okay. Now, I've talked to parents before, you know, I've been doing this parenting thing for a minute, and some moms, like, wouldn't even let the dad see the children because he wasn't providing it financially. What do you guys think about that?
Now, that has not been my perspective. You can't see them because it wasn't. I've never said you couldn't see them unless it was, like, to protect me or them.
Okay.
If things are crazy and we're arguing, fighting, all that, all right, I'm not ready to bring them over there, and I know that we're going to be arguing and fighting before I leave. Or I'm not going to bring them over there, and I know you're mad, and you're going to be over there disrespecting my son or my child or my daughter. So that would be a reason of me saying, all right, they're not coming today. And it would be literally, they're not coming today because I know that you're up and you're crazy and you have attitude. But next week, if I know that you're better and you in your right mind, I don't mind dropping my kids off and saying here, or having my dad or my brothers to drop them off and saying, here are your children. But
right. So the only way that you'll keep them from their father is if it's not good for them, if there's emotional or physical or anything like that, where you know they're not going to be safe.
Right.
It's never like, oh, you ain't got the money, you can't see your kids.
Yeah.
It's I hear that. Like, that's you're laughing, but I really hear that.
I've sent them and sent money so that they can eat. Because I know you're not working or you don't have, you know, so,
right.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned a village. So you have emotional support for yourself, and then you have a village. Talk about your village.
I would say my village is kind of pretty big.
Okay.
Because when you say emotional support, I have people at church. I have my mom and dad. I have family. I have Aunt Donna. So I have different places to go to talk to different people, friends. And then my children, I have different people that step in and make sure that they're okay, that make sure that, for an example, with my son, my older brother, he makes sure that my son gets off the bus safe every day. After school, they're going to do activities. He's working out with my son, making sure that he's going to play basketball, different outlets like that. So, I know I'm going to get emotional because those my kids.
Right.
That's why I told Aunt Donna earlier, come on, why would you do that?
All right, so you have a village. That's good because we all need a village. Shoot, definitely. I think adults need a village, for real. Parents need a village.
Yes.
Amber, you have a village, or you have some emotional support for you?
I do. I have a very, very big village. Before I knew what the word village was, honestly, it was just me against the world. Prior to meeting you, you know, at church years ago, it was an instant to understand not just how you parent, but how you do it all. And I remember one time, one Sunday, you was on the phone, you was telling me, girl, I got lunch, dinner, and breakfast done, and still make it on church one time. And I'm like, I got one son. I can't even get out on time. So at that moment, I was just like, yeah, I'm going to gravitate towards that way to see how, with her 2 children living so far from the church, from Middletown, commuting to Wilmington, still making it into the church on time, and I can't even get in there to hear somebody sing.
Okay.
So as time progressed, as I literally just watched your every move, it was like I wanted to mimic that. I didn't per se want it to be you. I just wanted structure and order, the way you conducted, the way you showed me. So building that relationship to understand how in the world does sometimes she go to school, she make it to church, she can do all 3 meals, still have time for activities to spend with her kids and stuff like that. It was like, if she can do it, I can do it. If she can teach me and she's open, she opened up her life to show me, why wouldn't I take that on? When it comes down to my emotional support, if it gets to the point where I don't want to talk, because sometimes as a mother, as a single woman, you know, you don't want to share everything because you don't want nobody to be looked at a certain type of way. So I actually decided to do therapy, and that's big emotional support for me.
That's good. That's good. I like everything you said. But I think it's important for, again, not just single moms, but anybody in general. You know, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of emotions involved and things like that. I've been married and I've been single, and I can say being single has more emotion involved, because it's almost like, who can I run to? I'm not gonna sing that song. Remember that song? Who can I run to? But it has been, you know, a challenge dealing with emotions, because, you know, you have your children's emotions and then you have your emotions, because we're emotional beings. So talking to a therapist and just reaching out to your village is very important, so that you, 1, don't get burned out, and 2, that you can be able to successfully raise your children.
Absolutely.
And not put what's on you on your children.
Yes.
And so that's one of the things we do, is when we can't control our own emotions, we can't deal with the baby dad, the ex-husband, whoever, and then the kids are sitting there and they look like their dad and they start acting like their dad. You know, you're like, oh no, what's going on?
That saying comes out.
Yeah. So you gotta make sure that you got your emotions in check, so that these children don't have to suffer for what we, you know, got into.
Absolutely.
What can you say your favorite part of being a mom? Like, tell me what's your favorite thing about being a mother?
My favorite thing about being a mother is actually see them grow and learn and explore different things, and see that if you do not jump in to try to help them, they'll figure it out on their own.
Okay. How about you, Amanda?
I think mine's kind of ties into the same, but mine's is teaching them, like teaching them different aspects of life, and then watching them actually do it, watching them actually blossom and do what we're talking about. If I'm saying you can't be that type of person, or you can't do this, and they go and do something. Kylie does it all the time, and she's working on some of her words, and I watch her, and before I even get a chance to correct her, she'll go, "Ooh, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry." So teaching them and watching them actually put forth what we actually talk about.
That's one of my favorite parts of being a mom too. See the fruit. You know, years and years of telling your child to do A, B, and C, and then when you actually, like, my kids are older now. You guys have little kids, but thank God. My kids are older, so you know it's a beautiful thing to see my daughter, who's going to be 17 next month. I can have a conversation with her, and just to hear the things that she says. She's so mature, and just how she just started figuring things out. And from everything that I put in her when she was younger, I think that's like my biggest joy, is to see that even when I'm not around, that they still have integrity. They still are compassionate. They're, you know, they're empathetic. They still have all those things the seeds that I've sown in their life. and I see it on the outside. And when somebody calls me and say, "Hey, I saw your daughter," I often get calls from the. My kids go to a military academy, so I often get calls from somebody at the school saying, Lizzie helped this girl who dropped her lunch, and everybody was laughing at the girl, but Lizzie went up and picked her lunch up and stuff like that. So that kind of stuff that's my favorite part of parenting.
Yeah.
I mean, teaching is good. I don't like to yell too much, sometimes I do, but to be able to see the fruit of it. So what is your biggest challenge being a single mom?
My biggest challenge is having them in 2 different households. With my oldest son, Samir, our custody agreement is week on, week off. So what his father may do might not be the same thing I may do. Mm-hmm. And with Aaliyah, that custody agreement is 3 days, 2.5 days. And it might not be the same food, it might not be the same structure, it might not be the same rules, bedtime. So when they come back home, you have to literally reiterate, hey, you're back at mom's house. Mm-hmm. This is our rules, I tend to give the kids at least 24 hours to readjust because it's different, especially having 2 children under the same household and 6 years apart, Mm-hmm. Samir being 13, he like, I don't want to go to bed at 8. I'm 13. And right. I'm saying, well, my household shut down at 8. Good night.
And you say it just like that, I bet you. Right. How about you, Amanda?
My biggest challenge will probably still be teaching them. Because not so all the time, not all the time Kyler is going to listen every time. Not all the time Kylie's going to continue to follow what I'm saying, especially if she's seeing her brother do something else. Mm-hmm. So she's trying to keep up with her brother, and Kyler is just right now trying to keep up with his older cousins or follow what mom says. But I think it still would be teaching them because, like I said, not all the time they're going to cooperate.
Right.
And with Kyler's attitude sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a boy thing. I think it's a boy
the discipline,
thing.
I would say. Yeah. Disciplining them, correcting them the correct way. Like you said, not all the time I yell. Sometimes that's my go-to. Because I feel like that's the best way sometimes that they will respond.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I work in childcare, so I know how to talk nice. And please don't do that. And please have a seat. And I've tried it. And even with them, daily, I will do that first. Maybe 2, 3, 5 times.
Yeah.
And then it goes down.
I agree with her. Because, I was taught that yelling at them, it doesn't get to them. But when we're talking to them, hey, it's time to cut the game off. Mm-hmm. Make sure your chores is completed, brush your teeth, and go to bed. I know I said it in English. It's really time to go to bed. So I definitely agree with her.
And even with that, sometimes I say, all right, Kyler, you got a half an hour on the game. And I'll keep going down. All right, Kyler, you have 15 minutes on the game.
Right.
And keep going down. And then by the time it's time for him to get off the game, it's still like.
It's almost like they didn't have no concept of it. But, one of the things, as we're talking about yelling, I'm not a fan of yelling. But if you have to, you have to. But one of the things I've learned over the years, again, I've been doing this for a minute and talking to a lot of parents, what happens is when we yell at our kids consistently, they go to school, their teachers have to yell at them consistently because they don't know a soft, quiet voice anymore. They only act or respond to somebody yelling and screaming at them. So, if they're in school, the teachers yelling, the teachers have to now yell and scream at them for them to hear, because they have now set themselves to only hear yelling and screaming. So when we, I always tell parents, restart, to start speaking to them just a different way so that they have to retrain their brain that they can actually hear you and they need to respond that way. Because think about it, if all you do, if every time you have a conversation with me, you're yelling at me, first of all, it makes me feel like I'm always doing something wrong. And 2, it makes me feel like that's the only way that you can communicate with me. And communication is important in children. They're, you guys have young children, so it's like they're very small, impressionable, and you don't want, them going to school or even just being anywhere and adults speak to them and they don't hear them. They're looking for, they're gonna say, I didn't hear you, because they probably didn't, because the person wasn't yelling at them. Yeah. So I always tell parents, like, reset. Like, I understand that that tends to be more of a go-to, because if they're not doing it the first time, the second time, it's like, listen, now I'm getting angry, and I need you to move. So just reset. I mean, each household run differently, but I think definitely resetting the way that we talk to our kids, so that because we want them to respond a particular way. Absolutely. So, and a lot of teachers are having trouble with these students in class, because they're constantly having to yell at them. They can't even teach. So if we as parents, begin to reset at home and hopefully get them to a place where if a teacher says something to them, and then the other thing about that, so if a child is being yelled at all the time, they're going to yell at their siblings, they're going to yell at people in school, and some of the kids, you yell at me, we about to fight. So then you get in some altercation. No, it's really a lot of repercussions from a lot of yelling. We see it in the data. So I think it's important to, take a deep breath, try to figure out another strategy. One of the things what I used to do, I jump in front of the TV. Oh, you don't hear me? You see me now. Mom, move. What? Excuse me? Oh, okay. I thought now. Oh, you can hear me? Okay, let's go.
The trigger, the switch for me also is being though Samir plays football, and football runs in our family a lot. But when I heard his coach speak in a way that I don't even speak, well, I thought I didn't speak, it bothered me. Like, it really bothered me to the point where I went on the field and I told the coach, like, first of all, that's not what we're going to do. You're not going to talk to my son like that, because that's not your child. You're not his father. But I also had to check myself, too, that evening, and realize that I'm no better than a coach. Yeah, but I had to hear it in order for me to recognize it, because one thing about me, I do love correction. I enjoy correction out of love, right? And I receive it. So nobody coming to me and saying, well, I ain't gonna say nobody, because we know you did it plenty of times. It was like, I don't know what she's talking about. We parent different, but hearing the coach do it, it's not an NFL player. It's Little League.
Right, exactly.
I would like for you to turn it down. And then I'm going to work on turning it down.
Yeah, because you don't really realize until you hear somebody else, like, you like, don't yell at my kid like that. But then you at home screaming at your kid. And it's like, well, absolutely. And the kid is like, well, I mean, that's what my mom do. Like, what's going on?
Right.
So I think definitely that's something we all can work on. Now that my kids are older, I ain't going to front. Like, I get times where I'm like yelling, like, yo, are you serious? Did you really just do that? And I'm like, yo, you old enough to know, and I've taught you better. But we also got to remember, though, our kids are growing.
Yeah.
And we really got to give them that grace and that space to grow. When of course, if there's some immediate danger or something like that, there's some correction that needs to be had, like right now, because you put your life in jeopardy. But when it's just like more, I call them like parents in growing pains, when our kids are really just trying to figure out their next move, and it's up to us to be able to allow a free space to grow, right? Because no kid wants to walk around and afraid to do anything.
Absolutely.
And that's why, when I said mental health earlier, a lot of these kids aren't able to talk to their parents because they feel like their parents are going to yell at them, they're going to scream at them, and they don't feel free in their own household. So as parents, even though, you're the boss. But if we think about, fellowshipping with our own kids, like look at parenting a little different. How do we, fellowship? Fellowship is a partnership. You're like, why are we partnering with our kids? Because we need them to do what they supposed to do, okay?
Absolutely.
So we need to be able to give them a space to be able to do that. When we were on the show last week, we talked about allowing kids to have opinions. How do you guys feel about that?
I was about to say, I feel like that's one of my challenges. My friend says all the time, you good because you talk to your kids. Sometimes Kyler has too much of an opinion. Kylie has too much of an opinion. And I have learned to correct it, though. I allow them to say whatever, not whatever. But, it's like they're with their friends. Kyler will come and say something to me that he's gonna go and say to Aiden or whoever. But then if it's not the correct thing, I'm like, okay, that was funny with your friends. But no, we don't talk like that. We don't say that. This is why we don't say it. Sometimes my friend be like, oh, you be talking to him a lot. But I have to. I have to tell him. It was this one song that had came out, and it was not okay. But once I told Kyler the meaning of the song and what it really meant, he was like, oh, I ain't singing that no more. Right. And every time his friends tried to play it, he's like, yo, you sus. You can't be playing that. You can't. Mm-hmm. You're a boy. You're not supposed to be listening to that. You're not supposed to be doing that.
Right.
And now he knows the meaning. He's 7. He might not should know everything, but he knows the meaning. He knows, like, that's not okay. That's not cool. That's not what God intended for me to be. That's not what my mom made me to be.
Right.
You know, so...
I think it's almost like a balance, right? You got to know, first of all, the age, and you got to know when to allow them to say certain things and when to correct it. Because like you explained to him why he couldn't sing this song, then he understood. Had you not told him why, just can't say, no, you can't do it, you can't do it.
He'll be behind my back listening to it.
Yeah, and he'll be trying to figure out, well, why my mom don't want me to listen to this song?
Right.
I'm going to listen to it. So I think it's so important to know when and how to have a conversation with your kids and allow them to have an opinion. For years, people just try to say stuff to me because my kids have an opinion. But I know how to shut it down, too.
Right.
I know, excuse me? Like, I say that, or sometimes if one of my daughters, she talk a lot. And I'm telling you, she talk a lot. And I'm not going to put her out there, but she talk a lot. But one of the things that I've learned over the years is say, listen, I'm overstimulated. Listen, I'm overstimulated. I know you got a lot to share. I know, I've listened to you for 30 minutes now, but I'm a little overstimulated. I need some me time.
And that's my 2-year-old. Sometimes I can't say that, but I'm like, Kylie, give me a second.
Oh, no, I tell Kylie I'm overstimulated. I'm overstimulated.
With Samir being a teenager now, it literally is different because he was the only child for 6 years, right? So when Aaliyah came along, I was just like, okay, hold on, pause. You can tell me how you feel in that moment and tell me what's going on so I can help you. Help me help you. But when you are in that area of like that 90s, 80s baby type of ordeal, you don't have no opinion in my house. You know what I mean? So being raised like that, I had to definitely retrain my mind to change, really like retrain my mind and say, if I don't give this little boy any say so, how is he going to express his feelings? Because we shut it down right then and there. I'm the parent, I pay bills, I do this, I do that. That means, first of all, they're not heard, they're not being seen, and you're not taking their emotions and feelings serious. We're not with our children all the time. They're in school 8 hours a day. So if a teacher calling them and say, how do you feel about the book? They won't even know how to express themselves because at home, they can't.
Right.
So when it comes down to certain topics, yes, you can respectfully speak your mind, like my mother told me after a while when we got up in age, but never do it to the point where it's being disrespectful.
Right. Always be respectful. And I think it's so important to allow our kids, a safe space to express themselves, because if we don't allow that, they're going to go to the world. They're going to go, we know that at one touch on social media, going to get information that they probably shouldn't have. So if they get it at home, it helps. I think that if we don't prepare our children for the world, we don't allow them to have those conversations, we're literally sending our children outside naked.
Yeah.
Wow. And allowing the world to dress them.
That's crazy.
Right? So I don't know if y'all seen what the world look like, but I don't want the world dressing my kids.
Exactly.
I know that's right.
Listen, I don't even know what half the stuff they putting on them. Yeah. So I think it's such an important. I think as a single mom, it's a little bit more challenging because one, we can talk about how you manage work. You both of you ladies said that you work. How do you manage work and get your child everything that they need, not just food, shelter, and clothing? I mean, I'm talking about how do you manage to get to their emotional needs, spend time with them. As a single mom, you tend to be a lot more exhausted because you don't have the help. So I like how you guys were talking about having a village, because for years I thought that I just need to be the superhero, raising my kids. Like I was gonna come get some single mom award or something. no, baby, I don't want them stripes.
Okay.
But no, because it's like, because the way I grew up, it's like I wanted to be the best parent I could possibly be, because I wanted to give my children what I didn't have. So out of that, I started to parent out of fear, right? Start parenting out of fear of either being homeless, fear, or they're gonna go out there with their friends and do something that they shouldn't do. So me doing that by myself, with my first daughter, she's going to be 24, and I feel like I know the areas that I messed up in with her. And in parenting, you can just keep learning, and every child's different. So now with the other children, I definitely adjusted myself in my parenting and to their personality as well. But I like the idea. It wasn't until probably about a couple years ago that I actually tapped into a village, because I thought I was it. I thought that I needed it. And then it started to wear me down, because the kids, they only wanted me. And I'm like, I can't be here, there, everywhere.
Yes.
So I think it's important for a village, because kids, they need to see family. They need to see how we interact with relationships with family, so that they know how to react to relationships with their friends and with their school and stuff like that. Because if they're not exposed to it, they're just gonna wind it. Again, they're gonna be naked, and we don't know what they're gonna look like.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple more questions, and then I'm gonna let you guys go. But what has single parenting taught you? Like the experience of single parenting, what has it taught you?
So pray.
Wait, say that again for the people in the back.
To pray, and to stay focused on them, making sure that, of course we have to making sure we're okay too. We have to making sure that our mental is okay too, and that we're strong enough to be able to raise them.
Right.
But that our main focus is them outside of us. Them.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. Not putting anybody else or outside things, our flesh or anything else in front of them, but making sure that they're okay. So when things are going crazy, instead of losing it or getting outside of ourselves, to pray.
Pray. That's all you
Pray.
Pray. I second that. And pray. My kids keep me in neology all the time.
I know that's right.
How about you?
For me, one thing I will say is I would not consider myself a single mom, because their fathers are present. They're on the earth. I don't experience all that Amanda have shared. So when my teenager Samir, when he gets to smelling himself, as they say, I get a woo-saw, because he's back with his father for a whole week.
Right.
Aaliyah has not yet experienced that as of yet. However, to me, it's like I don't have to do it all on my own. They're there. It's literally a conversation. And being that bigger person, being that mature person, and literally just shifting the atmosphere, just shifting the whole way of the thought process, actually allows me to lead better, and just to let them know, like, hey, this is what's going on, this is what happened. So if you're on punishment at one household, you're still on punishment, because we're still in that same week.
Now let me ask you a question. Was it always like that, or over time it got like that?
Because Lord knows, where we are with both parents, where I am with both fathers, is definitely awesome space, and I prefer to keep it that way. Yes, it definitely has some times where I want to scream and shout. There's times where I just wanted to run away. There's times where I just was like, I don't want to do this no more, because it's like, I didn't do this by myself. Right. I don't want to do it by myself. Like you said, I don't want to be Superwoman. I don't want the cape. There's other people out there. If you can't, can your mother? Can the godmom? Can the aunt? Like, we have siblings. Like, hello, y'all see me drowning. Y'all see me
So what happens when nobody else steps in?
God steps in.
Right.
Pray. Like Amanda said, pray. Listen, there's times, where I definitely feel the weight of being a single mom. But, there's only actually moments, though. It's not like, I'm having days, I'm dreading to be a single mom, this, that, and the other. It's only, when it seemed like somebody's got a camera on me and everything is hitting me left, right, upside down. They like, yo, you just got punked. Like, those situations be like, oh, man, I'm going to need somebody else to be punked today because this just not going to work out for me.
Yes.
Tag somebody else's it. Yeah. But then I also think about, ultimately at the end of the day, it's whatever my child needs, and in order for me to be able to give my child what they need, I gotta make sure I'm straight. Absolutely. So if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I gotta check myself and figure out what's gonna make me be better for me. Because you can't pour out of an empty cup.
Right.
So if you're not doing the things that you need to do as a mom, self-care, if you want to pursue your own dreams, education, different job, entrepreneurship, whatever it is, just because you're a single mom and you have kids doesn't mean that you can't do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So, and if you're going to do all those different avenues, you got to make sure that you're prepared for yourself.
Yeah.
And that, again, the children don't suffer.
Right.
Because you can do all those things, but we got to make sure that our children aren't suffering. Like with my kids, again, they're older. But even when they're younger, they, with my business, they on board with it. They like, what we got to do, and they're so excited that I'm in school. So as they grow, you're growing with them as well.
Right.
And let them be a part of it.
Yeah.
Couple more questions. So, all right, so we all have a son and a daughter, right? So parents and boys is different than parents and girls, right?
Yes.
Briefly tell me the challenges, or not even just the pros. I'm gonna say pros and cons because they're your kids. Like it ain't no cons.
The difference between the two.
The difference between parents and a boy and a girl.
My son is way more active, but he's a mama's boy. So that I don't know if it's because he's the oldest. I don't know, but that's like my best friend. He's been through everything with me, but. Kylie is my baby, and her attitude, I feel like where at 3 years old, Kyler was still my sweet little Kyler. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He's giving me attitude now, but he's older, and experienced different schools and different things with his dad, and he experienced a little bit more. But at 3, he was not giving me as much attitude.
Boys are different.
And all that Kylie does. Kylie.
So, what's the difference?
It's the opposite for me. Like, my best friend is my daughter, and Samir, the oldest, literally, he loves his father. Like, that's his best friend. So there's times where I'll be like, I just, son, just give me a hug. And he just is not an affectionate person. So he'd be like, Mom, come on. And I'd be like, all right, well, we made a little handshake. So I was just like, all right, I can take that. At least you're acknowledging, that I do want you to love on me and I want to love on you back just because you're a boy, Because in the era with fathers, it's like, he's a boy. You don't need all that kissing and loving, But to us as women, it's just like, that's still my baby.
They need that kissing and loving. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
so
my baby.
I feel like with all that love and all that treats them, to be honest, how to treat a woman when they get older.
Right, absolutely.
Because now my son looks at me like, okay, Mom, I'm going to hug on her, and I'm going to, like, boy, you not there yet. But I feel as though that shows him how to give that love and be affectionate. Right. To be an affectionate person.
That's good. I'll say the difference for me is, raising 3 girls and 1 boy. Like, for my girls, I could be their mentor, right? I can do all the things with them. The biggest challenge for me has been with my son, finding somebody to mentor him, because to pick up where his dad is not doing. Right. And I can teach my son basic things, cooking and cleaning and stuff, but I can't teach him how to be a man because I'm not a man.
Right.
I can't teach him how to be a teenage boy because I'm not a teenage boy. So I think the biggest challenge for me has really trying to find someone consistent in his life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I did Big Brother, Big Sister, and the guy he was there sometimes and he wasn't, and then it just wasn't consistent. I tried other men in the community to try to help him, but they just weren't consistent. They literally came in and out of his life. So that's been one of my biggest challenges, trying to find somebody who consistently be in his life where he has someone to look up to besides his mom. Yeah. And I'm a good role model, but this boy have questions about parts and stuff that I ain't got. And I had to, like, seriously, as he grown, I'm like, talk to your dad. No, I'm going to talk to you. So
Wow.
It's some stuff that I know as a pediatric nurse, and there's some stuff that I just had to talk to somebody else about to get some information because he only wants to talk to me. But that has been my biggest challenge in this single parenting thing, is really finding somebody for him to be able to consistently talk to, consistently express himself, because he needs to express himself. And you know, some of the stuff I really don't want to hear about.
I know that's
you know, it's a little bit too deep for me. But I listen, because if he doesn't talk to me, who else is there to talk to? So that has been one of my biggest challenges. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up, but I have a quick question for you guys. What would you tell other single moms? Like, what would be your advice to other single mothers?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Never give up on your kids, on yourself, or your dreams. Keep going no matter what.
Okay.
It's always a tomorrow.
Okay.
My advice I definitely agree with Amanda. I'm going to add the self-care for yourself. I know being an entrepreneur and being very active in the community and church and everything else that, you know, I have going on, and other people that I look up to have going on, some women don't even know what self-care is. I remember because of COVID, I learned what self-care was, and I dedicate my Sunday nights literally just to myself. You know, after church, I'll take a nap. You know, I'll treat myself to a little dessert, and I will literally do skincare, take a hot bubble bath, listen to jazz music, put my phone on Do Not Disturb, so I can literally reset for the next week.
That's good.
So I would definitely say you have to take care of yourself. If you are not taking care of you and doing what you need mentally and physically, how can you be healthy to take care of them?
Yeah.
I agree. So basically, keep going, keep pushing. Don't give up. Don't give up on your children. Don't give up on yourself. Go for your dreams, but make sure that you take time for yourself so that you can be effective in parenting.
Yes.
Right. There you have it. That's good. Thank you guys for coming on the show. Amanda and Amber,
Thank you for
giving your
having us.
opinion and perspective, and letting us know a little bit more insight on this single mom life. You know. Thank you. For all those who are watching, we will be back next week on Thursday, and we will have single fathers. We have some fathers who are actually literally raising their children, and then we have some fathers who are very active in their children's life, and then they're going to let us know, you know, on the other side, because we, as moms, we think we know everything as a single mom, but there are some guys out here who are really holding it down for their children and taking care of their children. So please tune in next Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you.